Hello everybody, my name is Dr. Sherman Green and I'll be your presenter for today. Today we're going to be talking about how to successfully transition to supervisor. Now this is a task that I know a lot of people have definitely struggled with because there's this conception that if you become a supervisor you're going to change, your demeanor towards other people will change, and your position and your state of mind is going to change as well. But I want to just rest you all assured in knowing that transitioning into a supervisor, coming from just a position as a co-worker and climbing up the ranks to a supervisor is not a daunting task, not as much as we would like to think. But today we're going to talk about some of those things that are somewhat difficult for people to kind of gravitate towards when they are wanting to transition into a supervisor. One of the things that I think is the most important to really start out with is learning how to adjust to the new position. So we're going to talk about that. Of course, establishing and maintaining credibility amongst your coworkers and your other staff members. We're going to talk about some of the pitfalls that usually happen and how you can avoid some of those things. How to motivate other people. How do you actually motivate people on the job in your new position? How is that possible? We're going to talk about communicating across all levels, all expectations of communication. It's very important that you learn the different dynamics of communication and how that is effective on the work job, especially when you're in the position as a supervisor. How is your leadership style going to be described? How is that going to be in the midst of all of the coworkers and all the staff members that you may have? Because that is very important. How you are perceived as a leader goes a long way in how people respect you and how you are looked at as a supervisor. And also disciplining and correcting problem behaviors. That is a big one. And I'll go into detail about that a little further, but that is something that gives a lot of activity, because what you want to do in that situation is you don't want to come across as being seen as something else and to be respected while you're trying to do that. So we will definitely talk about that. Let's just talk about the whole concept of just getting into that role in the very first couple days, okay? You've been promoted to this position and you have been given the task to be someone who's trusted to take on this leadership role. Now, at one point in time, the people that you will now be supervising were your fellow coworkers. They were some friends, they were associates, and you were able to adapt to that particular position because, I mean, you were just going to your job, you were working, you were not necessarily having to take on a lot of tasks or responsibilities other than just coming to work and doing what you were asked to do. But the adapting into a supervisor role is completely different. I actually have a story where I was promoted from an academic advisor to the lead academic advisor and the coordinator for advising, working in a college. And I remember when I first started working as an academic advisor, I immediately bonded with the other academic advisors. We all had similar interests, we all had similar backgrounds, and we were just able to connect and link like that. And it was the bond that held us together throughout the entire times that we were working towards the academic advising plan. And I never felt as though I was working. I felt like I was going to a job where I actually happened to have a lot of friends because we were all so closely connected and we all had such a great relationship, working relationship. About 2 years in is when I got the promotion to actually take on the responsibility of all the academic advising and also the advisors. And I remember being in that meeting and being introduced as the new lead advisor and the person that would be responsible for the coordination of the academic advising program. And I remember there were some people who were very happy, and then there were some people that were maybe not as happy. They didn't really show that they were happy or that they were bothered by it. And then there were some that just absolutely just, weren't there for it. They were not really supportive, weren't happy. And in that moment, I knew that taking on the responsibility as being the supervisor for this program would be completely different than just being an academic advisor. And my life would change from that point forth. And boy, was I right, because it did. When you are given the responsibility to be the supervisor, you have so many additional roles and responsibilities. And not only that, but you get a chance to see a different side of your coworkers, of your supervisors, and of the whole process of what is needed to get to the greater goal that the program is pushing to get to. So when you have those different perspectives, you are able to see exactly what you need to do, how you need to do it, and who is better fit to get towards that goal and to make sure that things are being done the way they need to be done. So with that responsibility that I held, I wanted to make sure that the bond that I did create with the academic advisors was still there, but that also that in that bond, they respected me for my new position. And that will be a daunting task. But one of the things that I did do is I made sure that everyone was held accounted for their responsibilities. And when things were done right, I made sure to give positive reinforcement to that person. Positive reinforcement is one of the biggest keys into creating bonds and to maintaining bonds, because if your employees see that you are valuing them, that you are actually taking the time to give them some type of positive affirmation about what it is that they're doing, they are more likely to continue to do that good job, and they are more likely to trust you and to gain your respect. And that's what you want. You want to create an atmosphere that everybody respects you and follows along as to what it is they're supposed to do. Now, with that being said, I did have people who I did give positive affirmation to, but there were others that I had to actually do the opposite with. And that simply came because the same employees felt as though they could communicate or talk or perceived me as the same person. But in actuality, the position changed, so the relationship had to change. And in those tough times, in those times of just trying to get an understanding, you have to step out of your comfort zone. Being a supervisor is also about taking really, really calculated moves that are gonna be for the greater good of the organization. So in those moments, those were those times when I had to just sit with that employee and say, look, I understand that we had started a bond, we had a relationship that was a little different before, but I'm asking you as an employee, as a person that is trying to meet the mission, the goals of this company, to please respect me and the job that you have signed up to do. And if that is something that you cannot do, then we can make the proper precautions to make that happen as well. And in those moments, I would either get the person who say, you know what, Dr. Green, I understand what you're saying to me. I understand that you are asking me to continue to do the good job that I need to do and to also respect you. And so we will not have any problems. We are going to push forward and we're going to meet the greater goal. And then I would have the others who'd say, well, I'm sorry, I just can't respect you. I've been in this position for 15 years before you came, and that's just not something that I can do. And we'd have that conversation, and we'd be able to say, okay, well, this is going to be expected of you. If this is not something that you're willing to do, then what we need to do is have a conversation with our higher up, and then we can talk about what needs to be done for you and for the future of your role here at this particular organization. But having those tough conversations are going to be one of the factors in being a supervisor. And one of the main things that you see from the very beginning, because at the very beginning, you will see, as I said, the different perspectives and the totality of the role. And what we'll do now is we will turn to page 4, and I'm going to allow for you all to silently read the first couple of paragraphs. We're going to take a break, and then I'll come back. So I'll let you all read, and then we'll go from there.